A small change needs to be done since my C is all full. Okay, right. The theme of the presentation. What are we going to cover? We're going to describe the system views of the project management and how it applies to the information technology projects. Understand organizations, organization structures, and organization culture. Explain why the stakeholder management. Yeah, it is full screen, but if you want to make it full screen further, I'll make it full screen. Yeah, okay. All right, I guess that's sufficient. Right. So, then further we'll talk a bit of the stakeholder management and the top management committee, which are critical for the project success. Okay. Then understand the concept of the project phase and the project life cycle and distinguish between the project development and the product development. Further on in the last section of this PDF, we'll talk about the 5 project management process groups, the level of activity for each and the interactions among them, understand how the project manager process, so the PM process groups relate to the PM knowledge areas, and discuss how the organizations develop information technology PM methodologies to meet their needs. So the reality is projects do not operate in vacuum. They are not an individual running entity. They are a part of something big. Okay, they are a part of something called as the organization. Organizations focus on the structural frame. Most people understand what organizational charts are. They also perceive this chart in terms of a structure, wherein there are 3 basic structures. One is the functional, there is a projectized, and the matrix. So what is functional here? Functional, the functional organization is more tilted towards the functional managers. The functional managers report to the CEO. There's more authority towards the functional managers. Okay, they are the ones who take the final call on most of the things. On the other hand, is completely opposite is the projectized organization. The projectized organization, wherein the project manager has a high authority. He is the one who reports to the CEO. He is the one who takes the major calls on the decision making. So these are the 2 ends, right? The one is the functional on the left, and the project, so on the right side, projectized. In the middle, which is very much observed, very generally observed, is the matrix. It's a middle ground between the functional and the projectized structures. Personnel often report to both the bosses. Structure can be a weak, balanced, or strong matrix. So in this situation, it's not completely a monolithic authority. It is a mixture wherein a particular resource will be reporting both the functional manager as well as the project manager. So basically, a functional manager would be like the VP for the engineering department, all the staff reporting to him. The VP of the manufacturing department, all the staff reporting to him. So as you see, there are functional divisions created, okay, and there are people working under that functional division. Whereas in the projectized organization, everything is made in terms of a project. Okay, the CEO comes up with new projects, temporary projects that come up, and there's resources allocated to those projects. So there's staff for project manager A and staff for project manager B. The matrix, however, will have a mixture where it can have both. One is the functional departments like the engineering departments, the manufacturing departments, the HR departments. At the same time, there's a separate dedicated department for the project managers, wherein they have the separate project managers under that head. And there's this cross section where you can see these 2 engineers who are working under the engineering department, the engineering functional engineering department. But at the same time, they happen to report the project manager A. So this is a matrix. If you look closely of how the matrix and these things vary. So functional extreme left, projectized extreme right, and the matrix which is in the middle. All right, out of which you have the weak matrix, the balanced matrix, and the strong matrix. All right, let's understand them one by one. First, project manager's authority. What about the authority? The project manager's authority, the functional organization is little or nothing, very rare, very small quantity. Whereas in the projectized organization, it is high to almost total, very huge. Wherein in a matrix, if it's a weak matrix, it is slightly limited. Okay, balanced, low to moderate, and a strong one, moderate to high. Okay, it's like a scale, beginning from 0 to 1, from functional to projectized. The percentage of the performing organization's personnel assigned full-time to the project work. Virtually none. In this case, virtually none. But in this case, it's like almost 25%. In this case, almost 60%. When the strong matrix, it can go up to 95%, and definitely if it's a projectized organization, the personals are dedicated resources for the projects only. Who controls the project budget? In this case, as you can see, the functional organization will definitely always have the functional manager take care of that area, whereas the weak matrix 2, you will have the functional manager. On the other hand, the projectized organization and the strong matrix organization will have the project manager doing the work related to the budget. In the balanced matrix, although there will be contribution for both the type of managers. Project manager's role in functional, it's part-time, weak matrix part-time, but as you move from the balanced matrix, as you notice the trend, it's a full-time, full-time, full-time. Okay. The common title for the project manager's role. Here you will find project coordinators, project leaders. Same thing in the weak matrix. In the balanced matrix, you will find people, something called as the project manager, project officer. In the strong matrix, you will have people like the project manager, program manager, the project manager, the program manager. Then the project management administrative staff. Here it is full-time. Here it's part-time, part-time, full-time, full-time. Okay. So this is just a tabular distribution of the resources. Have a look for it. Have a look at it just one more time in a few seconds, then we move ahead. Okay, there's a question for us. Composite organization. Composite. I believe composite organization is more or less of a type of balance matrix, wherein it is a composition of all the type of managers. I can look up to the textbook again for this definition, but as of now, I believe it's a composition of the both type of managers. So moving forward, any questions anyone does have? Anybody has any questions? Please put it out there. Okay. Anyone, any kind of question? Okay. All right. Moving ahead. Now we talk a bit in terms of the organization and its contributing role to the project. Organization, that is, we have the organizational culture. In terms of the organizational culture, is a set of shared assumptions, values, behaviors that characterize the functioning of an organization. What is the organizational culture? It is a set. It is a bundle of shared assumptions, values, behaviors that characterize the functioning of the organization. They dictate the way the organization functions. Many experts believe that the underlying causes of the many companies are not the structure of the staff, but the culture. So as you know very well, it's the culture of the company. Some people working in the organization have the culture that, okay, you know what, the work is always coming on. I might not put so much efforts of it, because if I get done something with right now, I'm sure there is always some other work piled up over there. On the other hand, there are some organizations that are quality oriented. They feel that, okay, take your time, don't make a rush, give all your patience and time and take the liberty to solve the problem, and in return they feel happy working in that kind of a culture. So culture makes a huge difference over here. Yeah, it's a rough understanding in terms of these characteristics, which are stated over here. The 10 characteristics of the organizational culture: member identity, group emphasis, people focus, unit integration, control, risk tolerance, reward criteria, conflict tolerance, means ends orientation, open system focus. These are some of the factors that contribute to how your organization culture is taking things ahead. Okay, out of which the project work is most successful in an organization culture when these characteristics are highly prevalent and where the other characteristics are balanced. So the star ones, you'll find them more and more relevant as compared to the other non-star ones. Okay, a quick one. The project coordinators and expeditor. Functional managers have all the power in the functional organization. The project managers have all the power in the projectized organization. That goes without saying now. By now, you understand that. Sorry. One small tip over here. In the exam, when questions are posted to you in terms of an organization, keep in mind solving the question in terms of the organization being a matrix kind of an organization. Okay, if it's not specified over there that the organization is functional or projectized, have an assumption that it's a matrix organization. More particularly, more specifically, a balanced matrix one. The project coordinators and expeditors don't exist in the projectized organization. Very important thing. A project expeditor keeps track of the project status, whereas a project coordinator has some authority and usually reports to someone higher up in the company. Neither role has as much as power or authority as a real project manager, even though an expeditor or coordinator may have the project manager written on their business cards. So you will also possibly find these two candidates, but they will never be a part of the projectized organization. In fact, it will be more towards the functional part. Functional organizations and weak matrix, balanced matrix, you'll find these people over there. Okay. All right. Moving forward, we'll talk a bit of the phases and cycles. Project phases and the project life cycle. A project life cycle is a collection of the project phases that defines what work will be performed in each phase, what deliverables will be produced and when, who is involved in each phase, how management will control and approve work produced in each phase. Right? So basically, the project life cycle is a collection of the project phases that define what are things that define? Okay, they define what work will be performed in each phase, what deliverables will be produced and when and who is involved in each phase, and how management will control and approve the work produced in each phase. Okay, this is something that the project cycle will consist of, wherein it is a collection of the project phases. A deliverable is a product or service produced or provided as a part of a project. Okay. A bit more data about project phases. In the early phases of a project life cycle, resources needs are usually lowest. If you actually observe the curve, the initial phase, the initial cycle of the project, the resource needs are usually low. The level of uncertainty or the risk is the highest. Okay, it's the highest. Project stakeholders have the greatest opportunity to influence the project. That is the time when they will dictate their terms. In the middle of phase of the project life cycle, the certainty of completing a project increases, more resources are needed. And then in the extreme end, in the final phase of the project life cycle, the focus is on ensuring that the project requirements are met. The sponsor approves completion of the project. Okay, right? The focus is on ensuring the project requirements are met and the sponsor approves the completion of the project. So this is a bit data about the project phases, right? Anybody has any kind of doubt so far? Any doubt? Anybody has anything you feel like asking? Please feel free. Okay. All right. I'll move ahead then. The product life cycle. Products also have life cycles. Yes, they do have. The System Development Life Cycle, also known as the SDLC, is a framework for describing the phases involved in developing information systems. Development projects can be of the following. 1. The predictive life cycle, meaning the scope of the project can be clearly articulated and the schedule and the cost can be very well predicted. Example is your very famous waterfall model. That is the predictive life cycle of the product. Other phases, other kind of things are the adaptive software development, the ASD life cycle. Projects are mission driven and component based. They use time based cycles to meet the target dates. Example, Scrum. Scrum or the agile methodology fall in this section, wherein the iterative, they are the iterations, there is something called as iterations. Every iteration there are certain objectives to fulfill, and on the basis of that they move ahead, right? So this is a rough bifurcation of your product lifecycle. Okay, the importance of the project phases and the management reviews. A project should successfully pass through each of the project phases in order to continue on the next, but obvious. Management reviews, also called phase exits or kill points, should occur after each phase to evaluate the project's progress, likely success, and the continued compatibility with organizational goals. Okay, this is something that management will look into. Okay, now from this part we move to something called as the process groups. We're not going to go a lot of detail, but we'll give a rough idea of these process groups are. Project management process groups. Now, a process is a series of actions directed towards a particular result. Project management can be viewed as a number of interlinked processes. The project management process groups include initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and the final is closing. And this is a pictorial representation in terms of the level of activity and overlap of the processes groups over time. So as you can see, the project starts initially, the initiating process groups is high. Slide not changed. Are you sure? Right now I am on the level activity of and overlap of the process groups over time. Can you see this slide? Level activity and the overlap. There's a picture over here right now that shows the various process groups. Okay, all right. Maybe a technical glitch in between. All right, cool. Glad to know that. Thanks, Vida. Thanks, Vida, for pointing that out. Okay, so here, as you can see, initially the processes of the initiating process groups, okay, will be very much high in the beginning. Can you see this part? Okay, they are predominantly used over here. As the project further goes, we have the planning process group take a new height over here. Okay, it goes post the midsection of your project. Then there's the executing part over here. Executing is somewhere in the middle, right? It goes till here and comes down till here. Nothing much in the beginning. Although the monitoring and the controlling process groups, it stretches across the project, across the board, right from the beginning till the end, across the board. The monitoring and controlling process groups. And finally, the closing is definitely the end, so nothing much to talk about. Okay, a rough, you know, rough understanding of the process groups and the knowledge areas. So as you can see, we have our uh, 30 knowledge areas, procurement management knowledge areas, and the 5 process groups. Okay. Okay. So just have a look at it for now. We are not actually going to talk about each and everything. Just have a look at it right now. This is something which you will understand better once you're done with the entire thing. And at the end, you will realize that, oh, okay, this process over here comes here for that reason under this kind of process group. You know, there's a reason behind which this process comes under a particular section. Just have a look at it. Here we have the develop charter, project management plan, direct manage project work, monitor and control project work, perform integrated change control, close project or phase. I mean, this is one knowledge area where you have the processes across the board, right from the initiating to the closing. Not even a single one is missed out. Then in your scope management knowledge area, you have all of these things: plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, create the WBS, validate scope and control scope. Okay. And the time management, plan the schedule management, define activities, sequence the activities, estimate activity resources, activity durations, develop the schedule, control schedule. Okay. And the costing involves the plan cost management, estimate costs, determine budget. Determine budget is the very big part where you have plenty of calculations coming in. And don't worry about it. We'll have a lot of practice at our end. Then there's the control cost. On the quality side, we have the plan quality management, perform quality assurance, control quality, and human resource. Plan human resource management, acquire the project team, develop the project team, manage the project team. Then further, plan communications management, manage communications, control communications. Risk management, plan risk management, identify risk, perform qualitative risk analysis, then quantitative risk analysis, planning the risk responses, and then finally you have the control risk. The procurement involves planning the procurement management plan, conduct the procurements, control the procurements, close the procurements, and then finally is the stakeholder management, identify the stakeholders, plan stakeholder management, manage stakeholder engagement, and the control stakeholder engagement. For now, these are just terms for us, but as we proceed ahead, we'll gauge in and get a better understanding of the things. Okay. Project initiation. Initiating a project includes recognizing and starting a new project or project phase. Some organizations use a pre-initiation phase, while others include items such as developing a business case as part of the initiation. The main goal is to the main goal is to formally select and start off the projects. Okay, and the key inputs include assigning the project manager, identifying the stakeholders, completing a business case, and then completing a project charter and getting the signatures. These are the rough number of activities you perform in the project initiation. Okay. Project planning. The main purpose of the project planning is to guide the execution. Every knowledge area includes planning information. If you notice the chart over here, you will see the planning process groups is filled up. There is no knowledge area that will not have the process in this planning process group. All the knowledge areas have at least one process, a minimum, running in the planning group. The processes here are required to establish the scope of the project, refine the objectives. Now, okay, initially we have got the objectives over here, but what we are doing here, we are refining them. Define the course of actions. Now you know the objectives. We need to have some sub objectives. You need to break up the objectives. So we have the course of actions required to attain the project objectives. This is what the planning is about. Project execution. Project execution usually takes the most time and the resources. Project managers must use their leadership skills to handle the many challenges that occur during the project execution. Many project sponsors and customers focus on the deliverables related to providing the products, services, or results desired from the project. Also, possibly you will have a milestone report that can keep the focus of the completion of the major milestones, something like this. Gives you a rough idea of when and how things will happen. Okay. Sorry. Then we have the project monitoring and controlling. This involves measuring progress towards the project objectives, right? Monitoring the deviations from the plan, and then eventually taking the corrective actions to match the progress with the plan, right? It affects all the other process groups and occurs during all the phases of the project lifecycle. Outputs include performance reports, requested changes, and updates to the various plans. So monitoring controlling, what are we doing here? Monitoring and controlling is a recursive process or part of the process group wherein all we do is we keep on checking. We keep on checking that what we intended to make, what we intend to achieve, are we doing that or not? Are we doing that or not? And is the rate of execution or the rate of achievement, is that proper or not? Are we slowing down? Are we going very fast? Right? And definitely if something is not going in the right direction, there has to be some corrective action taking place so that it comes back to the normal track, right? And there are various tools and techniques of how we achieve that thing. Okay, project closing. Then final is the project closing. Project closing involves gaining stakeholder and customer acceptance of the final products and services. Even if the projects are not completed, they should be formally closed in order to reflect on what can be learned to improve the future projects. Outputs include project archives, lessons learned which are part of the organizational process assets. Most projects also include a final report and a presentation to the sponsor or the senior manager. So the closing is all about the final straw. And there's the part where we just have to check the deliverables, making sure that the contract is achieved, right? And going for archiving your project documents, your templates. Okay. Okay. So we have a sample question. Oh, sorry. Okay. Any doubts so far? See, project feedback. Now that's a very generic term over here. We have something called as the monitoring and controlling. Okay, which sole purpose is to make sure that we are going in the right direction. Now the feedback can occur in this stage most probably because this is the part where we check if things are going in the right direction. If they are not, we take the corrective actions. Hence the project feedback should happen in this area. Any other question you guys feel like asking?
I have one question, Mudassar.
Yeah.
There was a slide in which you explained about product life cycle.
Uh-huh.
I think you mixed up product life cycle and project life cycle, because in Rita's book, I read that the plan-driven life cycle and change-driven life cycle is a part of the project life cycle.
Sorry, come
Can
again.
you go back to that? And
This part?
you explained in one slide, I think it was 16th, or yes, this one exactly. The the predictive life cycle and the adaptive software development life cycle, they are
Mm-hmm.
both the categories of project life cycle, not the product life cycles. Product life cycle is, I think it's about growth, maturity, and decline of the product. It's a generic life cycle. If you go through the notes and slides, you'll see. In Rita's book, I've read that these predictive life cycle and the other one, change driven or adaptive life cycle, it's a part of the project life cycle.
Okay, okay. Now the thing is that what you're saying more or less is correct, because finally the projects are in a way part of the product life cycles, and they are achieving the outputs meant for the being the products. The deliverable actually is the right product. But you are saying right. I mean, I agree with you. There's no doubt about it. But since the products are, you know, are structured in such a way that they constitute of different projects running in them. So when you're looking at them together, it seems more or less it's as if they are the part of the product lifecycle rather than the project lifecycle. Individually, they might be using, for example, I can say yes that the individual project is using the SDLC system, wherein it is using a predict lifecycle or adaptive software development lifecycle. But if you actually combine them together, they are constituting the life cycle of the product. So I mean, yes, it's a way of how we look at it. It's more of a perception.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, glad you brought that point out. Shall we take some sample questions then? Shall we go for the sample questions? If anybody has no doubts so far. Any questions anybody feels like putting through? Or shall we move to the sample questions? Shall we? You guys feel like asking anything from this previous topics? Any questions from anyone, or shall we move to the sample questions? We have a few sample questions to just to understand what we have read so far. Anyone out there? No, it's okay. No problem. You can always put anyone who has an issue with the mic. You can always put on the chat window. You can type it over there. But okay, so Manish feels we should go for the sample questions. So as of now, I'm going to take his yes as a overall yes. Okay, I'm moving ahead. So let's have a look at this one. Have a look at this question and answer me through individually in the private chat. Don't answer in the audience chat. I mean, no, not with that all entire audience. Respond individually. The question is, in which project management process group is the detailed project budget created? Have a understanding of that and shoot the answer. Okay. All right. It seems that many people have answered the question. Okay. 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 Someone has answered A as a answer. Okay. So clearly, it's between the two options. It's A and C. It's going to be initiating. It's going to be planning. Can somebody tell me why A is not the answer? Can somebody tell me why A is not the answer? Okay, Vida says that yes, initiating gives the rough estimate. Umesh says that it is not the answer because only high-level requirements are known. True, true. Correct, correct. So budget is something more specific. You get a particular quantity, you get a particular number. Okay, which it's very difficult to get in the initiating. Initiating is all about defining the work that needs to be done, or a rough idea of what the work needs to be done, a high-level perspective. So A cannot be the answer, right? And definitely C is the answer because in the planning stage we can sit down and look at the requirements and okay, come down to a figure that yes, this is the kind of number we want to achieve. Okay, good enough. Okay, all right. How about this one? This is a slightly interesting one. Have a proper look at it. So as I said, that T is the correct answer, whereas you can't apply A as the answer over there. Okay. Okay. Here's another question, a very interesting one. Okay. Basically, the management over here says that just decrease the tax liability. Is it actually giving you a number by how much the tax liability should be decreased? Do you think so? It is giving you a quantifiable measurement. Okay, that okay, it should be by 10% or 30%. The way the engineering department or the IT department is specifying here. Do you think the management objective is quantifiable? Is it? Yes, Thomas. Is it? Hence, the D is not an option. Okay, shall I move to the next question? Now, let us not go into supposes, okay? If uh, okay, one of the candidates participants are saying that if the tax liability was given over there, then the options in the answer will also change. The options will also change because the option C would still be the right answer. The only thing is that the option C should now include also the tax liability because it is a quantifiable value. Okay, Thomas says, but it points to a goal. Pointing to a goal is not good enough, Thomas. When somebody says that you should improve in your work, but does that someone tells you how exactly do you want to improve in your work? Meaning, how many hours, lines of code does that person expect from you, or what is the kind of quality that the person is expecting from you? It's very generic, it's ambiguous. Sorry, no, wrong word. It is ambiguous because you cannot understand when somebody says that just decrease the tax liability. You need to understand the level. Okay, when you say decrease, by how much? What is the quantity by which you want to decrease? Will that 1% qualify a decrease for you, or will that 30% is something that will qualify as a decrease for you? You need a number there, right? I hope you're getting me, Thomas. Okay, moving to the next question. I'm sure this will now be easier to catch. Yeah, support. I have not spoken so far anything. I was just waiting for the answers to come. Uh, just not spoken anything. I'm just waiting for the answers to come. And I'm happy most of the people are getting the answer now, considering the difficulty they faced in the previous question. Okay, I guess everybody's on the same page. Manish seems to have gone a little bit off track. Okay, so Manish, this is for you. What?
Huh.
Okay, I've put up the answers. By the way, is Thomas there with us right now, or has he left? I can see him online, but I don't see him answering. So both Manish, have a look at the answer. I hope this explains the reasoning. Good going, Umer and Vida. You guys got that in the first place. Very well. Okay, so Thomas, are you facing any difficulties in solving the questions? Because lately I've seen in your two past questions you're not answering very promptly. Type the answer, so I was kind of a bit curious to know. Okay, right, it's a new question. That's right. It's B. Yep, that's right. It is B. Choices A and A do not address the support for the project. Choice C might be a good idea, but it does not address the issue of previous support throughout the performing organization. Okay, let's have another very interesting one. I doubt many people will be getting this one. Okay, so I hope this also clarifies why custom is the right answer. It's a more of a FAQ kind of a thing. So just keep in mind it's the customer, not the stakeholder, not the sponsor. Okay, not the project manager's boss. It's the customer. That's the primary thing. Okay, Subodh, is that clear for you? Cool. All right. I think so. We are good enough to wrap up today's session. Uh, Plenty of questions we have solved, right? And more to come eventually. So I guess that's all for today. I'll be uploading the recording and the PDF also in some time, most probably by tomorrow. You can have it and go through it. And I miss the suitable ship project. Sorry, Subodh, I didn't understand that. What was it? I didn't understand what you were saying, Subodh. One more option. Okay, what is that option you're referring to? Project. What project? Subodh is saying if there is one more option, project. What project? Project as an option? Are you saying that there should be another option called as only project in this case? Yes, no? Yeah, I mean, still the answer is C. Yeah, sorry, still the answer is D. Because even if you're talking about the project, it's still going to end up talking about the customer. Okay, so people, uh, any questions apart from the stuff that we just looked up today? Any other questions you feel like asking? Shoot it out so we can quickly get wrap it up. Any questions you guys feel like asking to me? Any questions that you feel that strikes your mind? Anything you guys want to ask before we call it a day? Anything? 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 Okay, I'm assuming nobody has anything to ask, so we'll call it a day.